The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's virtual roadshow webinar featuring the latest in cloud construction technology from Sage, Accordant, and Procore. We have a great panel of presenters lined up for you today, but first, just a little housekeeping before we get started. Everyone is muted for a clean listening experience. If you have questions, please type them into the questions box and we will address them at the end of the session. If time does run out, we will follow up with you individually after the webinar. For the best visual experience, please maximize your screen. This webinar is being recorded and the link will be emailed out to everybody later today. And now to kick us off is Michael Fiducia from Recording Company. Mike, take it away.
Great, thanks, Krista. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon to take a look at what we have for you with Sage's latest job cost ERP, Sage Intacct Construction, as well as the integration to Procore. So we have quite a bit to show you, so I am going to breeze through my introductions as briefly as possible so we can spend as much time in the software. So just a quick agenda for us. We're going to go through some quick welcome and introductions, go over a quick overview of the According Company if you are not familiar with us. Then we're going to get right into the software and Sage Intacct Construction. Then we're going to turn to our friends at Procore to do a quick introduction and show us how the integration works. And we'll leave some time at the end for Q&A. So that's me in the middle, Mike Fiducia with the According Company. I've been working with Accordant now for a little over 5 years and love what we do here every day, working with construction companies and helping them align their strategic objectives from a technology standpoint with some of the best solutions in the market. And to my left on the screen is Bob Sandilands, who is going to drive us through Sage Intacct today. And on my right is Bill Easton with Sage, which I would like to turn it over to Bill now just to share some words from corporate's perspective for us.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, Mike. Again, my name is Bill Easton. I'm a channel executive here with Sage, specifically within our construction and real estate division. So today we're going to go through and demonstrate our next generation native cloud SaaS solution, which is Sage Intacct Construction. Sage Intacct Construction is built off of a foundation of over 30 years of experience, that coming from going back as far as our Timberline solution, which has evolved into now Sage 300 CRE or Sage 300 Construction and Real Estate, as well as our Sage 100 Contractor solution that has developed into our Sage Intacct Construction, which is the only AICPA preferred solution, obviously number one in customer satisfaction as well, and we are a visionary cloud financial management solution within Gartner as well. So we're very excited with what we have to demonstrate and show today to our current customers as well as prospective customers that are interested in our next generation construction financial platform.
Awesome, thank you, Bill.
You bet, thank you.
So for those not familiar with Accordant, we are a professional services firm focused on the construction and real estate industry. So we love working with our clients every day, helping them solve some of those pain points that they experience from a technology solution, whether it's job cost accounting, project management, estimating, service management, you name it. We're able to use our experience to walk you through and develop some best practices in how different technology solutions such as Sage Intacct and Procore can help solve some of those pain points. So we're headquartered over in Florham Park, New Jersey. We support now about 4,500 clients coast to coast. Again, most of those either construction firms, developers, and owners. We have over 20 Sage certified consultants across the multiple products here to support our clients in not only implementing, but providing ongoing service as well. In 2020, we were awarded the Sage Construction and Real Estate Partner of the Year, and that is in part, or actually due to our amazing relationships that we've built with our customers and working with them hand in hand, time and time again. And every year, we've been lucky enough to also be named the technology pace setter by Accounting Today, and also listed as one of the top 100 US bars as value-added resellers from 2009 all the way through 2020. So let's talk a little bit about Sage Intacct Construction and what it means to be in a best-in-class modern cloud platform. So much different than what we're used to today in our on-premise products like Sage 100 Contractor, Sage 300 CRE. We have additional functionality and flexibility built right into the platform. So what does that mean? That means that we have built-in workflows on top of a rock-solid financial core that leads to efficiency and cost savings. Integrations using open APIs, right? There's a whole Sage Intacct marketplace published on the internet that anyone can go to see what AP routing and approval solutions are available. Payroll, HR, you name it. If there is an integration to the product, it is listed on the marketplace, so there's no more guessing on what is available to extend the use of your job cost ERP system. And what I think everybody on this call is really going to appreciate is the enhanced visibility we get through dashboards and reporting, and how much more flexibility we now have in a modern cloud platform. And Bob's going to show us quite a bit about that today. So this is a little on how the solution is architected. So across the top, we see the different verticals that Sage Intacct supports. Now, Sage Intacct is not a new product. This is a product that has been in the market, that was born and built in the cloud 21 years ago, which is pretty unique at that point. Through the years, they have made different vertical additions of the software to support those industries and features and functions that those industries need. So what Intacct did from a construction standpoint was enable things like cost codes and cost types within the existing platform to give us the job costing that we need throughout the product. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Bob Sandilands now to take us through Sage Intacct.
Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you I haven't talked to in a while, welcome and thanks for joining us. Let me go ahead and share my screen just to check real quick, Mike. We see Sage Intacct on the screen now.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, now we're good.
Nope, just a little blip. So
Let me move it back to Mike, and then I'll move it back to Bob, and
Oh, there we go. Okay.
redo it. Here we go. How about now, Bob? Do you see it?
Okay, how about now?
No.
no, not yet.
Okay, let's see here. All right, let me try a different monitor. Hang on.
Here we go. Now we see a blue screen.
There we go. You now see Sage Intacct?
We see a blue screen with your calendar reminders now. Just want to drag it over.
Yep.
Everybody on this call should know that technology never works when you need it to.
Okay, how about now?
Not yet.
No? All right, let me reset this.
Okay, now we see Intacct.
Oh my,
All righty.
all right. Well, thanks everybody, and sorry about the gap there. So thanks again. And I've opened up for everyone a few different dashboards, but I really wanted to break this session into three components. First, I want to talk about just improved visibility to dashboards, interactive dashboards, not just a dashboard, but one where you could interact with that dashboard based on your interest or a need for information. Then I want to jump into just what's different about Sage Intacct to Sage 100 or Sage 300 through a new UI or user interface and UX or user experience. And I'll be specific with that. And I think everyone will notice what's changed in our next gen product here. And then third, I want to end with just some improved workflows. And we'll talk about workflows with Procore. For those of you that have Procore or are planning to add Procore for project management, but also what's improved within the workflows within Sage financial applications. So that's where we're going to go. And a couple just highlights first. Before we get to this dashboard, I just want to take everyone into a configuration or settings screen. So if you notice up on the right side of the screen, it says R. Sandlin. So I've logged in from a browser. It can be any browser of your choice. The preferences when you log in are user specific. So things like timeout. Now there might be some rules in your business about inactivity. After 2 hours, it automatically logs you out. But things you're definitely going to want to consider turning on would be like a start page. So when you log in, where do you want to begin? Should it be a dashboard? And if so, which dashboard? If it's a dashboard, it's role specific or person specific, or you could say, no, just take me to the main application menu or a specific application. I like to hover when I access Sage Intacct or move around Intacct, as opposed to clicking on an application and then opening up by clicking on another task. So notice that I've got mine set for hover. The applications that the preference order of those applications on my screen. And this is pretty handy for many companies when you log in and open up a screen. How many lines of distribution when you code a transaction, an AP bill, a purchase order perhaps, or a journal entry? Do you want to see 10 lines for distribution or 2 or 3? I've got mine set for 2. When I click on a help screen or a lookup screen to get a list of vendors or customers or jobs or cost codes, how many do you want to be presented with? So you can define that by user. Things like even when you key in a number into a field, let's say it's $5,000.50. Do you want to key the period, the decimal between the 5,000 and 50, or do you want it to automatically pop in? I promise I won't go through all this. Uploading signatures. Why would we do that? Well, if you're printing AP checks and you want your signature to appear on that check, we would want to load that in for certain users, as well as if you're creating a purchase order or any document that needs a signature attached when you transmit that document. We'd want to grab that. And then I have turned on Collaborate, which is a threaded messaging embedded into every transaction and record. So if we have a transaction, let's say an AP invoice, and we want to put it on hold, I might want to send a quick note to somebody in the organization asking for some confirmation on something regarding that invoice. And then they would get an email, and they could click on within that email a link that takes them right into that message where they could respond. Or if you notice, each of you logging in the morning, you'll see this little Collaborate icon. And you can notice that in my queue right now, I have 3 open messages. Now, if I click on one of those messages when you log in, it takes you right to the transaction and you can respond. I'll show you that real live when we're in the application. So let's just roll back to this dashboard. So that's a little bit about preferences. One other thing before we actually jump into the application, I just want to share some application capabilities that in our legacy products, when I say legacy, I'm referring to Sage 100 and 300, we have applications for. Like for instance, for Sage 300, we have an application called My Assistant. Essentially, My Assistant's a business alerts and notifications tool. We have that in Sage Intacct too, but it's core to the application. It's built in. So if you notice, when I clicked on platform services within Sage Intacct, it highlights some of those attributes like smart events. A smart event is a trigger. When a given event occurs and certain conditions are met, that smart event can send an email. Smart events can even trigger transaction entries within the application. It's everywhere. Smart rules right below that. Within the application, let's say we're posting an AP bill, and today's December 1st, and you don't want anyone ever posting to a prior month. Now, the software, you could just close out that subledger AP without closing out your GL, by the way, but you could close out AP and prevent somebody from posting. But let's say you left it open and your rule in your organization is to never allow anyone to enter an AP bill that is outside the calendar month. Well, we would just activate a smart rule on that specific field, prohibiting somebody from entering a transaction outside the parameters of what you wanted in that field. That capability is on every field in every application on every object. Custom fields we can add, not just in a certain tab on a master record, but on any screen, including any entry screen. And last, I'll just point out, I won't go into it in detail, but within the application, you now have the ability with Sage Intacct, instead of using crystal reports to drive like template formats, Sage Intacct embraces the ability to use integrated Word documents right into your Sage Intacct platform. And then we can attach that document format that's specific to a division or company, to a specific transaction type. Let's say a purchase order. Let's say a purchase order from a professional services, or a subcontract, or a change order. So much easier way to enable all users of this product, security permitting, obviously who can get in here, but to tailor the application specific to their formatting requirements. And that's standard functionality built into the application. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about access to data through dashboards. And I opened up really two I wanted to highlight. This first dashboard is labeled a controller dashboard up left, and that perhaps is the one you've given me access to. Notice at the top of the dashboard, there are 3 performance cards up top with trending indicators. The trending indicator really just represents the status of that balance and where it's flowing from the previous period or reference point. So in this case, sales are up because this month they were reported at 78, last month 74. Your expectation by clicking on that 78 is to see obviously the account or accounts that represent that activity. So there's another one. By the way, my G&A for that particular period was dead on. We didn't spend any more. But look, if we go, let's just go back one more month, re-render that dashboard, live data, 9/30. Notice that, oh, my G&A is actually showing now positive. And why? Well, click on it. Last month it was 12.5, and now this month it's 10.5. And then your expectation is what? Right here. So whatever pool of accounts you're displaying on a performance card, a KPI, key performance indicator, you want to click on that detail and drill down into source entries. And if you have access to actually edit a transaction, which I'll show you in a minute, you could do that. So that's just performance cards, but notice what's on here. Here's a representation of revenue by entity or by division. So if you have a commercial division, residential division, or contract division, service division, we could represent that with obviously the ability to drill down into the details and see what makes up those components. Notice the income statement over to the right. This income statement is showing by geographic area, or could be by entity or division. If you open up that report large screen, you have access to it full screen with, of course, the ability to drill down into the transaction detail, whether it's on the dashboard or you've expanded it. Notice up top, some of you might be using Liberty reports or Office Connector or other tools to connect to your accounting ERP data. Now, all throughout the application, one click just to drop to Excel. And obviously all of the output, everything we show today, you can tailor right within the application. And if you have security, you can actually open that up right within the dashboard tool and modify the display of that data, the columns, the rows, the computations, the filters of how that one report is showing. One last thing, and I want to show more of a job construction dashboard as opposed to just financial data. Notice that this dashboard, I'm looking at it as of today. You could change the dates. It's all real-time data. So for those of you with 300, you know you have to close out the month to get the financial statements. We can run it live any day, any month, any year, forward, backward, wherever you want to take the screen. You could also put, these are dimensions on the dashboard. So if you notice, you could put a filter on this and let me see only a specific customer or a specific vendor. Those are dimensions which I've applied to this dashboard. You'll see the next dashboard, I've added others. So dimensions are, you do it today, dimensions are just attributes on a transaction. So when you enter an AP bill, you're coding it to a job, a cost code, a category. Those might be filters on reports or dashboards. So let's look real quick, by the way, just to show you, if you want to see a specific division or entity, it's just pick off a list and re-render that dashboard with just that entity's data. You can also group them, like you could group jobs, or you could group entities into some other composite of multiple divisions or entities. It's that quick to get real-time data re-rendered. And notice again, I'm at the top level. So I didn't talk about that yet, but that is a consolidation of all entities all on one screen when I went into it. I then only chose to filter down. By the way, you could just open up an entity. So if we do that together right now, we just went from here, top level view, and instead of working at an entity level in charging transactions across entities, we've just opened up an entity, and perhaps that, by the way, might be the only thing I have access to. I don't have access to the other division or entities. And now I can, work within this application as needed. All right, so that's a dashboard specific to financials. Let's jump into one a little more interesting and fun. This too is labeled a controller dashboard. And in this sample, by the way, we have one that's just looking at cash across the entire portfolio or company and all the accounts. Here's a CFO dashboard. We're in this dashboard right now called controller. And then I have one project manager. Each of these has a little bit different view of data. Notice we've got, I don't know, half dozen performance cards, all with drill downs on them with trending indicators of what's happening. Rolling down this dashboard, a little bit different presentation. Notice the WIP schedule over here to the right. And this WIP over-unders are calculated based on cost to cost. But I've also grouped these by commercial work. Let me see my hotel work, my warehouse work, maybe residential. So you can group them. They could be by project manager, by project type, really however you want to see it. And remember, on any of these views, when you're in Sage Intacct, the blue is what? To drill down to transactions. So let's just have some fun. And everybody's asked us this for years. And I wish we could deliver it with Sage 300 or 100 for you now, but we really need you to move to this to get it. AR aging or AP aging. So let's just open up this aging view. So this is an AR aging report. And for years, we've been asked, well, can we just open up a report? And when we look at the data, if we're talking to a customer about that report, we really want to, right within the agent report, and we're doing this from a dashboard even, we just want to drill into a transaction. Maybe you want to email that invoice again. Maybe you want to edit that invoice if you have the double secret password to do that. Maybe you want to duplicate this invoice, or better yet, you're doing a collection because this invoice is 273 days old, right? That's why it's red. By the way, there's the invoice, what was on it. You could edit it if you have security to do that. But you could also, right from the aging report, from a dashboard with a click, apply a customer payment, perhaps a credit card that you just took, or they just entered an ACH. So really good interaction on a standard report with the ability for you to drill down to transactions and then work within transactions from a report on a dashboard. And that's not just here in accounts receivable, but if I just roll back here and let me just close that one view down, go back to where we were. Notice you could do the same thing with contracts, purchase orders. So as purchase orders or subcontracts are posted from Procore into Sage, you might want to, right from here, with one click, drill into that contract or drill into the change order or the AP invoice. So again, very good activity detail available right from a view on a dashboard or on any report. Okay, so I went through that pretty fast. Oh, by the way, here's another dashboard view. Oh, not here. Let me just go back. Here's another one. Let's look at the cash view. So this is just cash. And if we click on that cash balance, what do you expect? I want to see all the accounts and what the balances are across all our accounts. And then obviously drill down into detail. So that's a very high level view of what you can do with dashboards, all customizable. Let's just jump into a little bit about the UI, what's changed in the application. A lot. And probably the best example, so by the way, these are the applications: AP, AR, GL, billing, quick bill invoices, contract invoices, purchasing. Those might flow in from Procore. Jobs, we'll talk about all new flexibility within how we structure jobs. Obviously, inventory, time and expenses. There is a payroll module coming 1/1. Well, it's in beta right now, but Sage is releasing it early next year. We're expecting it first quarter 22. But let's just look a little bit about the interface, because I'm sure you're curious about what's different from what you use today and what Sage is now offering with Intacct. If you click on bills right here on this, just one example, what do you expect? I expect to see all the bills. Maybe right here, you want to see, oh, I only want to see a specific vendor. So I just typed in that vendor and there are their bills. Now, maybe right from here, you want to edit a bill. That's simple. Now, notice that when we went into the screen, it's at Bob's view. Well, I know somebody on this call is thinking, like, what are all these columns? Why does he have all that? Well, you can come in here, edit that, turn columns on or off. All the list views are definable or configured by user. And then when you're in here, by the way, what do you expect to do? I expect to click on that column and sort it in ascending order, or the invoice or the bill number. By the way, notice the action buttons. I don't know if anyone caught that on the dashboards or any of the screens I've been in, but when you open up any screen, you're going to see the action buttons on the right as to what else you could do. So if you click add, there's the screen to enter an AP bill. A couple things in here I just want to point. This works throughout the application. There's wildcards you can look up. If you just start typing in characters, it goes right to it. So there's no lookup you have to key into. Bill number. We have TimberScan and Paperless connection. There's new versions of that connect to Sage Intacct. But built into the application, you can come in here and just drag documents onto a transaction entry. The system can automatically code that, or you could give it a number. You can put it in a folder, throw the invoice away, because now we've got it attached on the web to this transaction forever, held on that transaction. And by the way, when you're down here, what job? Cost code, cost type, everything you expect. One thing I want to highlight here, if you don't know a job number or cost code, you could just, in any of these fields, just start typing in characters. And I just typed in INS. Well, there's 2 GL accounts that have INS in them. That's the one I want, plugging them out. And I happen to have workflow turned on so I could submit this. It could go to the next person for review and approval. And there's approve invoices, there's approve AP payments. So workflows are customizable, configured by what's called a transaction definition. So I know I'm getting close to the time. I just want to show a couple workflow improvements that I mentioned. So by the way, all the screens behave the same way. And simple things like you expect today, by the way, like here, when you're selecting payments, vendor payments, if I just go in and apply that filter, I'm going to see all their invoices. When you're making payments, notice that the bank account on the right has $67,000 in it. I'm checking off which ones I want to pay. It's giving me a running total of what's left. Okay. The ability, by the way, to cut more checks than what you have as the balances. This is an option. But what do you expect here? Well, when I'm paying a bill, you might want to click on that bill, edit it, duplicate it, or perhaps see an attachment if the image was attached. So again, another example of drilling into a transaction while you're in another screen. Very different kind of workflow than perhaps what you might be used to today. The concept of adding payments to outboxes or paying now, there's all kinds of conversations we can have about that. We've just by example in AP improved retainage capabilities where we can actually draw down retainage on percentages. We have the ability throughout the application now to close general ledger, or rather instead closing out just a subledger. Just close out my AP, don't let anybody post to it in November anymore. but leave my journal ledger open. So better accounting controls. Workflow, and then I'll stop, and we're going to turn it over to the folks at Procore. But I just want to show something as an example. So as Procore purchase documents, purchase orders or subcontracts flow into Sage Intacct, or if you enter them directly into Sage Intacct, first, let's do that. If you click plus, what happens? If you click purchase order, you see a list. Remember, customizable. If you click the plus, it takes you right into the purchase order screen. Notice the screen on entering a purchase order looks just like the AP bill entry screen, looks just like the journal entry screen. All of it looks exactly the same. Now, the example I wanted to show about workflow, if we go to the list view, and let's say we have this, let's go into, here, let me go into my subcontracts. So I went to a subcontract view, and I have a couple that haven't been converted yet. So this subcontract right here, we could just open it up and look at it just by clicking view, or we could edit it, right? What you've wanted to do. By the way, we could not only see the contract, but any change documents, as well as anything that's happened to that. So in this case, we have one AP invoice already posted against it. That means there's something left though. So one click to convert that balance of the contract to an invoice, put a bill number in right here, and maybe the balance is 12, but we're only going to pay 6,000 right now, and whatever retainage we're going to hold. We're going to hold 10% retainage. Now, normally that would automatically calculate. So 6,000, we're going to hold 10%, $600. Click submit. It might go to somebody for review and approval, or you could instead just click post, and it's done. So recap real quick, and then I'll pass the baton over to our friends at Procore. A new web-based application, completely cloud-enabled. It's not available to be run on your server, so you're logging in from any browser, any kind of device, agnostic. When you log in, you have access to your applications in a new user interface that's modern, clean, and consistent across the applications. Workflows that are designed to save you time, and then ultimately, at the end of the day, what's happening in the business, improve dashboards with real drill downs down to the source documents with the ability to, security permitting, edit transactions. So that was a quick 25-minute tour. There's a lot more to share. We'd love to have everyone come back with us. We'll set up individual meetings and go through the details of this application in more detail, or more a deeper view for you. So Krista, let's go ahead and turn the presentation over to Sarah at Procore.
Great, thanks, Bob. And Sarah and Ken are joining us from Procore, and Sarah is going to just give us a brief overview of Procore, and then Ken's going to walk us through the software. So Sarah, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike. I'm Sarah Marks. I am the channel manager here at Procore for North America, and joining me is Ken, one of our sales engineers here at Procore. I'm going to go over a quick overview of Procore and then hand it over to Ken for the good stuff, the demonstration of Procore. So Procore's platform is meant to connect everyone and everything in construction to help you build smarter. It's really our kind of true North Star for Procore and project management, and why we integrate with best-in-class softwares like Sage and Sage Intacct. And we're really excited for the future of Procore and Intacct and the cloud construction in the future. You can go to the next one here. I want to start by talking a little bit about the state of the industry here. It's no secret to anyone in this room that construction is hard work and projects are complicated. The truth is that the vast majority of construction is essentially custom work. Buildings are built once and never again by a team of people that may meet once or maybe never while working together on a building or a project. And projects today are more complex than ever, with more stakeholders than ever before. Some of our biggest projects that Procore has been used on lately, for example, the Raiders' new stadium in Vegas, Allegiant Stadium, was built by 12,000 people in 31 months in the middle of the global pandemic. That project had 10,000 RFIs. And with the siloed data and disconnected systems that is so common in our industry, it's a communication nightmare. slide. And communication leads to wasted time. And I know almost everyone on this call knows that time equals money on job sites. And there isn't a minute to waste. Our data shows that 35% of time wasted is because of things like poor communication leading to situations like rework. And Procore is really here to help solve that problem in the field and then connect that back to your office with situations like Sage Intacct. And if we move on to the next slide, Mike, thank you. And last April, we had a cost management summit with one of our partners, Deloitte, and they came to the conclusion with their data and their customers that folks who have integrated cloud financial platforms, such as Intacct and Procore, are more competitive, they have better margins, and they're delivering projects on time, which is what we all want at the end of the day. And it works. Allegiant Stadium, that was built on Procore, I mentioned earlier, was finished $25 million under budget, which is obviously fantastic. But it's not just for those massive projects. It's also for small projects. It's actually through communication struggles on building a single family home that Tui, our CEO, built Procore. His vision was to improve the lives of everyone in construction. And he knew that that meant building a software that was purpose-built for this industry. So he went to professionals in the field and asked them what was keeping them on job sites for too long, and professionals in the office and asked them what was causing their spreadsheets to break and what was causing balances not to balance. And that's where we created Procore to be the best product that we can, and also integrate it with amazing tools like Intacct, Arcoro, kind of the next gen of construction cloud softwares that can be best for this industry. We also have global ongoing support, which I will talk about kind of at the end here, but so that we don't just sell Procore to you and say good luck, you can always call Procore and make sure you're getting the resources that you need. Again, the Procore platform was built to connect everyone in construction on a single platform to help you build smarter. And what that means is connecting field to office, GC to specialty contractor, from bidding all the way through closeout. It was created to make the siloed communications, manual processes, and duplicate entry a thing of the past. Procore unifies everyone into one centralized platform to streamline those communications, increase efficiencies, because when you have all of your people in one place and all of your projects in one place, you can have all of your data in one place. And you can use tools like Procore Analytics for actionable insights to improve upon your business processes and your standard operating procedures. We also have an open API, which I've been talking about this whole time with our integration with Sage Intacct. We have integrations with leading softwares across the industry, over 300 and counting, so you can integrate our products with any of these third-party applications, from drones to document management to scheduling software. So you have access to the tools that work best for you, because we realize that with a connected platform, you can go farther, faster, and be more competitive and more successful. Next slide. Awesome. Connecting Procore and Sage 100, 300, or Intacct allows for the true all-in-one solution. So you can have your PMs working in Procore and your finance team working in Sage with data that flows between the two. It will look and feel like one connected platform with each person working in a purpose-built tool for their job role. When you marry best-in-class project management and best-in-class accounting, this is where the magic happens. It allows you to save time and labor, gain confidence in accurate data, improve collaboration, and eliminate costly delays. Now, this is the current roadmap for Procore and Sage Intacct. I won't go over this too in depth right now, and I'll let Ken kind of briefly touch on it at the end. But I want to say that the point of this map here is that you can start your project and what in your workflows in whatever software works best for you. You can kind of determine that as a company, and then you can move forward accordingly. These workflows are really meant to be intuitive and follow your best practices for your business. And with that, I want to go ahead and hand it over to Ken.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. Nice to meet you all. From the attendee side, for those of you who have not seen Procore, I will go into a demonstration showing the portfolio view, a simplistic project home screen. I'll then fast forward into course construction. I'll go over the life of an RFI, which eventually leads to a change order, how that then connects to Sage Intacct, and also how that is then funneled to our analytics on the Procore side. So again, for those of you who have not seen Procore, this is your first view. This is the portfolio view. So all of your jobs across the board, given the stage, course construction, bidding, warranty, post-construction. Really the value behind this screen though is actually the project overview. So now in regards to permissionings as well as jobs you are present on, this will then be a live feed across each tool, across each change order, across each commitment, as well as POs and general information as you can see here. So for example, instead of me now traveling back in the job site, maybe hopping down the hoist, 45-minute delay of where this change order or RFI stands, if I see here, this is a project overview with given tools enabled and this interactive dashboard just like Sage as well. So now I as an exec, I can pop into these 18 overdue RFIs. I can drill down if needed into the subject. I can pull a step back and now see ball in court, so who's holding up this particular item, as well as a due date. So now this drives accountability. This me as a user avoids of painless phone calls to my architect engineers and really gives you time back in my day to pursue work and put work in place in the field. So again, this is the portfolio view. I have a handful of dashboards up top here, but I want to end with analytics, which is the more robust project dashboard across the platform. As we dive into now All-Time Business Center, this is the project home screen. So you have your company goal up top here with Procore's unlimited user model. We encourage collaboration. So we want to invite your owner in, your architect, your in-house engineers, supers, project managers, as well as potentially more for the QA, QC, for commissioning agents, inspectors down the line. But as you can see, the overview carries down to the project home screen. As you go through now having your own unique login, given we have that on the user model, you now have your own unique My Open Items list. As you can see as well, this is interactive here. You have the status as well as due date. So previous life, I was in the industry for about 5-7 years through a handful of GCs. I had yellow field books. I had sticky notes on my monitor, as well as chicken scratch on my hand. Now this replaces all of those, and really this serves as your accountability calendar. Going to the top part of my screen here with project tools again, really going to flow through how we upload drawings, how we launch an RFI, how that transfers back to the field from the office, and how that elevates to a change. So what I will do is actually transition over to my mobile device, and this is my iPad in the landscape view. We are also compatible on Android devices as well as iPhones, so no issues there in regards to field access. I want to highlight, I actually am home right now. I'm on Wi-Fi, but if I have to go offline, I can do so. So I'd always recommend my trades, my foreman, my staff, download local docs that are needed on site. For example, permits, RFIs, submittals. So when you're on site and you're offline, you have those readily available. What I'll navigate to first though is our drawings tool. So as you can see, the current drawings are brought to the front of the pack here. And if I dive into now a discipline, going into A112, this is where Rev 1 is brought to the front. Again, avoiding the risk, avoiding the confusion. I'm working off my design docs or addendum 1, and let's say my sub is now working off the IFC drawings. With Procore now we limit that with bringing every drawing to the front of the pack. In regards to then revision control, let's say I need to access the old, I simply scroll up on my device, and this has that non-current drawing banner at the top of my screen. If I ever need to jump from detail to detail, elevation to elevation, I can also do so with these live hyperlinks, as well as mark up these drawings as well. So let's say I have an issue for my supply storage closet here. On the right-hand side, this is where my markups come into play. I can cloud a certain item, have a text box for callouts. I can even have a rough opening, as you can see from my meeting team area there, or even pinning certain callouts. So photos for a drawing, week over week work in place photos. My punch list, fast forward to our favorite part of the job, which is closeout. Totally kidding. We can now get ahead of this for QA/QC. Observations, also another tie to our change events and change order process. But today, what I'll focus on is if I dive into this supply storage, let's say I have an issue. Let's say I need a link to an existing RFI, I can do so. As you can see, left-hand side, submittals, docs, everything existing. But now since I'm in the field, I've identified a new issue. I want to now, upper right-hand corner, the orange plus sign, start my RFI. I propose my title. I key in my question here. I pull up my device, snap a photo of the exact issue. I can also now annotate this and mark it up so my in-house engineers, my architects, everyone knows exactly where this issue stands. Once that is saved, this is where now I, as the super, I have one of two options. I can elevate this to my RFI manager, which would be a probably PE or PM in-house, and they can go through, process the RFI. Let's say they know the answer. They push that back into my court. I pursue it my day. Second option is we actually elevate this to an assignee, an owner, an architect. We have their insight. They respond via Procore, and that is where then everything is documented. A couple other fine features here. We can go through the due date, configure this per our contracts, distribution, give visibility across the job site. I would say the most important two are not required but recommended. Going back to that mitigating risk and cost, we also have a known schedule impact of 5 days, as well as a cost impact of if and when this elevates to a change of a 5K plug in my budget. Therefore, I as a super, I've identified the issue, I've attached my question as well as backup. I have my schedule as well as cost impact. This then floats over to my in-house team. They elevate this to an architect engineer and receive formal direction. Let's fast forward. All of that correspondence now is tracked within Procore. We have the green light from the owner, the notice to proceed from our architect, given we have an updated detail. If I transition back now to my desktop, within this example as an RFI, the structural framing ad, I can now elevate to a change event. This is a Procore term. So essentially this is your PCI log, PCO log, anything at risk, anything upstream that you're going to elevate to your owner, or downstream, let's say an allowance or contingency to your subs. So directly from that RFI, you can see that origin will automatically update here, having a downstream hyperlink when executed to that RFI. We have the number concurrent in the system, the title pulling through. By default, this will be an open change event. And these next big three, again, not required, but recommended. Let's say this is an out of scope item. Let's say this is an owner change, and then for the reason we have client request. Therefore, week over week, my previous life, I had about 5-6 Excel files with different buckets, different budgets. Now with Procore, we can run reports. We can help with this automated process of sending it to our owner, sending it to our in-house team to stay on track with our scope, type, and reason for each change. As I'm going through the build out, I can add additional clarity here within the description. I can pull in different tools, so how our tools actually talk to one another, update a file from my computer, even a photo I snapped from the field, or even a drawing set, so who and where this impacts my trades on site. And last but not least, depending if it's self-perform or subbed out, let's just say add a line in here for my budget. These cost codes will sync over from Sage over into Procore, and this will be your live, of course, job and how it's awarded. So let's say today, this impact for my structural framing ad, I need to have some demo here. Since my contracts are now starting within Procore as a PM and syncing over to Sage, this will automatically recognize this is already allocated to the vendor. Contract auto fills, and this is really just me putting in a plug for my budget. After that updates for my ROM or my rough order magnitude, really my best guess, this then gives me a total as well as any markups I can associate within the Procore side, and these will sync over onto the Sage side. So once I have the change elevated into a change event, I'll fast forward just to show you what that internal risk log looks like. And again, previous life had 5 Excel files for this. Pivot tables, I had personally made reports. I'd spend hours a week just to present to my owner, a couple other hours a week to present internally. Now I have a one-stop shop of all my change events and my summary. Also, where these are allocated towards, As you can see the origin here, I have those live hyperlinks downstream to my emails, my observations, my RFIs, my meeting minutes. I can also see where I'm at risk. So before I even present this change order, whether it's to my owner or to my sub, and then have that executed in Sage, I have the early indicator as the PM all within Procore, my bottom line add or deduct, and then of course the bucket it's allocated against. Prime total, whether it's allocated upstream to my owner agreement or my commitment totals downstream to my subs. So fast forward a little bit here. Let's say I actually have a change order now. I go through the process. We also have an integration with Docusign if you're looking to streamline the execution of the contract. And let's say I, as a PM, I have the contract and or change. I then elevate that over into the ERP integrations tab. So of that data map Sarah just alluded to, this is where just going through the life of the change. This is going to be a permission-based seat, probably from a CFO, a controller, or even accounting team. I also have seen some individuals as PMs in here, again, business by business, case by case, depends how large or small you all are. But as you're going through the execution, this just gives you another layer of security before this hits your Sage side. So as you can see, I have that change order executed as a super, elevates my PM, already had eyes on it for my owner and architect, and then really this is the last piece. I, as a controller, I view the number, subjobs if enabled, cost code it's allocated against, description of work, the cost type, as well as the amount. From here, it's as simple as rejecting this, leaving a comment as to why. You fat fingered a number, misallocated a cost code, insert another example here. Second scenario, controller is all good. Let's say we accept this. We can now push this over into Sage Intacct. So again, this is the seat of the CFO, controller, or accountant team where they have the last level of security, eyes verifying this pushes over. And then as we connect, as Bob already went through, our invoicing, our direct costs, our uncommitted invoices to our vendors or committed invoice to our subcontractors, that is where then with Procore Analytics, we can have all of that tie under one platform. So for this particular dashboard, we have our insights here, all of our projects it's going across. We have our budget, as you can see on the right-hand side. As we're going through buyout, we can see what's committed. We can also see what revisions occurred, as well as what's budgeted versus what's committed. So this is one insight. If I go a level deeper now with our built-in machine learning, as well as artificial intelligence, I now as a PM, a CFO, or even C-suite in general, we have influencers as to why I'm over budget. So for this particular example, I'm 9.73 times more likely to be over budget in regards to my GCs. Therefore, I'm not going to go really back to my PMs. I'm probably going to go a level back to my pre-con team, my estimators. Hey, what are we missing here? And as to why. And in regards to root cause analysis, we can also dig a level deeper as to where and what changes are occurring on what job. So again, high level, this is Procore. I know it's a 22-minute, 25-minute demo here. Again, if you have any questions, we partner with Accordant and the Sage team day over day, month over month. So we're excited for this partnership to continue. Any questions, we're happy to open up the floor. But as of now, I will stop sharing my screen and I believe I'll toss it back to Krista.
Great. Thanks, Ken. So if you have questions, type them into the questions box and we will be happy to answer them for you. I do have a couple in here. And as the rest of you are typing them in, we will go through some of these. So the first question is there a payroll module available for Intacct?
Mike, I'll take that one. It's Bob. Yes, there will be. Right now it's in beta with both a large union and non-union construction company testing it out. And we expect the general availability to be Q1 2022.
Okay, the next question is Intacct integrated with Sage Estimating?
Yeah, and I'll take that one, Bob. So we are working on the integration right now. And what's awesome about this is that it's going to be a direct integration using APIs. So if any of you on the call are using Sage 100 Contractor or Sage 300 CRE with Sage Estimating, that integration is through an import right now. That's not how it's going to be with Intacct. It's going to be using the APIs, which is going to be a much cleaner integration. Sage Intacct also integrates with ProS estimating if anyone on the call is using that as well. Again, and ProS, for those that don't know, another true cloud estimating solution out there, also connected using APIs.
Okay, another question came in is, where do we do time reporting and contract billing?
Time reporting, so I don't know if anyone noticed it, but on that application list, there was a feature called time and expense. So if you're using HH2 or Cora's Exact Time or WorkMax or a time capture program, we can pull that into the time features within Sage. We can even have approvals on it, which right now we would take that time and we could use costed rates to charge off the job cost and then upload to ADP or Paychex or other payroll services. Soon that time would be approved and moved right into the payroll application for processing and posting. But just because there's not a payroll module, I don't want anyone on this call to think that we can't capture time and charge that time with rates, cost rates to job cost. That's here today. There was a second part to that, Krista. Time and what was the other piece?
Time reporting and contract billing.
Oh, contract billing, good question. So we have quick bill invoices, we have contract-based invoices, T&M invoices, more flexibility than what we do with 300 and 100 on that. What we don't have today is AIA billing, and that will be released in R2 on May 15th. So there are 4 releases of Sage Intacct a year, and the AIA billing is in that application or in that release. Just a caveat to that, it's not just AIA billing, but we will now be able to do substantiated billing as well as part of AIA, and things like inserting a line on a requisition list is now part of the solution, where with 100 and 300, there wasn't that great flexibility after you started billing it. One other thing I'd like to suggest, if you're using Procore, Procore also has the ability to generate AIA requisitions today.
Okay, another question for Procore. Will the Sage 100 and 300 integrations continue to be supported?
Yes, and I'll hand it over to Sarah at Procore, but Sage, when they released Intacct a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago now, they committed to a 10-year product roadmap on the development of 100 and 300. So there's no fire in the barn. There's no reason you have to move unless you want a new state-of-the-art platform. With respect to the integrations, I'll let Sarah speak to the Procore commitment, but Procore or Sage 100 and 300 have dominant market share. There's 25,000 companies using those 2 products. So it's in Procore's interest to continue to maintain those and build them out. And Sarah, I don't know if you want to speak to even some enhancements you have planned for those.
Yep, absolutely. We are still planning to enhance 100 and 300. Actually, 100 has some enhancements that are coming out, if not this month, in the next couple months, that are ready to go. So you will definitely continue to see enhancements on 100 and 300, as well as enhancements on Intacct. There's one that's already in the pipeline to come out very soon as we speak. So we will continue to enhance and support all 3 integrations as long as Sage does. Our partnership with Sage will definitely support everything and every integration that we have. So as Bob said, there is no fire in the barn. Continue to use the platform that best supports your business. We are just wanting to make sure you know that the new feature is available for Intacct and Procore, that it's here and ready when you are.
Okay, we have another question is, does Procore have an estimating tool?
Yes. So Procore purchased a software called Esticom about a year ago, and it is now integrated into Procore called Procore Estimating. So it's one of our newer products. That's not a tool that you have looked at. We are happy to, you can reach out to your Procore rep or reach out to one of us on this call or Bob, whoever your contact is, and we can get you information on Procore Estimating.
Okay, great. And then one final question here is, how are backups handled?
Mike, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so there are no backups needed. You know, this is not unlike our on-premise solutions today, right, where we have it on a server and we need to run our backups and maybe store those off-site. This is all in the cloud today, guys. There's no need for backups.
Now, with that though, Sage is making backups regularly.
Right.
On multiple locations. So if something were to happen to the servers in its location, there's redundancy, and your data is secure in a multiple versions of backups over, I think, over a week plus.
Yep, absolutely.
But it's nothing. There's nothing you have to run as an end user of Sage Intacct.
Right, yeah, and that was my point. And we have guys such great information on the level of security that is provided through Intacct, and unlike hosting it in your own environments, the enhancement that you get at these world-class cloud server environments are unbelievable, from the virtual security down to the physical security. There are things like man-trap doors and biometric scanning. It's really, really interesting and highly, highly protected.
Okay, thanks everyone. We're just at the top of the hour, so that's all the questions we have. If you do have other questions, feel free to reach out to us and we'll be happy to answer them for you. Again, the recording will be sent out to everybody later on today. Thank you all for attending. Have a great day, and we will talk to you soon. Bye now.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.